Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Vanquish. My name is Samkelo Khatebe, and yes, thank you so much for joining us. I have got, you will decide how this man looks once you see his face, but his name is Andrea Dalle Ave, and yeah, we're just going to be chatting about his journey in Paralympic sport and again the transition, from being an athlete and a student to being a person that works full time, And surely he's got some insights as well on some of the difficulties that he had to go through as an athlete, and surely he can share some of that with us. And it should be beneficial then for other athletes that are coming behind us. But yes, this is Vanquish. And remember that this show really exists because odds and obstacles exist only to be conquered. Andrea, how are you, buddy?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
No, I can't complain too much. I like your hairstyle on the head, on the face. It looks very confusing. But yeah, it's like you dived in the pool and then you came out and rushed straight into this interview.
No, this is what lockdown happened, and then my hair started growing. So I thought, let me just carry on growing it. Never got to do it as an athlete. We were always quite, trimmed properly, and the beard was cut. So now I'm going to try grow my hair a little bit longer. It won't last long. I'm probably going to cut it soon. But yeah, it was quite long.
Are you working from home?
Yes, at the moment we're working from home. I've been working from home since March, so I don't have to go into the office or anything.
This is the problem, Andrea. Right there is the problem. You've got no reason to cut that hair and look all nicely clean and shaved, but it's okay. It happens to most people who are working from home now. Anyway, buddy.
It's better though that it's my hair. Some people, in lockdown that work from home, they up and down to the fridge all the time and they're putting on a lot of weight. At least that's not me. I'd rather have long hair.
You're just putting on the hair.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's start from the beginning. I've known you since you were like a kid with zero hair on your face. Not like what you look like now. You got into Paralympic sport. So why did you choose Paralympic sport and how did you even get into it?
Yeah, so it all started at my prep school. I was at a prep school called Trinity House, and I was actually competing. They had a long athletic season in Trinity House, and I always just wanted to run and be as fast as the able-bodied kids. And I was doing it quite successfully. I was top 3 in the grade, top 4 in the grade. And then one of the teachers there, her name is Mrs. Bommerans, she noticed that obviously there was a physical disability with me, and she told me, why don't you give Paralympics a go? And back then I hadn't even heard of Paralympics before. So what she did, she referred me to Charmaine de Brain, we all know and we love her. She works there at the Hope School, and she's the one that classified me first of all, or pre-classified me to say you'll probably be a T37. And then the rest is history. We went to our first one when I was 10 years old, and I loved it. I was competing against people with the same disability as me, no longer competing against able-bodied people. Well, I still did continue with that, but professionally then I was against people just like me. So it was such an amazing feeling to actually compete against people with disabilities like you. The inclusion that you feel is just amazing. So it started when I was 10.
So tell me then, did you know you were disabled all along, or you, like most CPs that I've spoken to and that I know, have lived a very normal life until they were told that you have a disability? So when did it come to your attention that you actually have a physical disability?
No, Shoal, the toy in my story is a bit different. He only realized it later on. But with me, I always knew. My parents, they told me from an early age, but they didn't really make it a big thing. They just said, this is what it is, but you're just going to be like a normal child. We're just going to have to work harder or work differently and work smartly. So that from a young age, I obviously knew something was wrong because I was getting all these treatments, hyperbaric chemotherapy. I was getting Botox in their hands. I was getting physiotherapy. I was getting occupational therapy. So obviously, you start to realize something's a bit, different. But
Yeah.
yeah, I knew from a young age something was wrong, but it's never really been an issue in my life.
Wait, so the Botox that people use for their face, you got it in your disabled hand.
Yes, I know it wasn't anything to do with it. That would be later on in life. But yeah, no, it's for the hand, and then they cast your hand in a certain position to try help with that. But yeah, it was in the hand.
Yeah, I think I would also know immediately that something is wrong if that happened.
Yeah,
So you went to an able-bodied school. Did the kids there at the school know? Could they notice that something was different with you? And what was the treatment like from the other kids at school? Because my understanding is that you went through your entire school career at an able-bodied school.
yes, I did. So, like I said, prep school was Trinity House, high school was St. Stephen's College. The early years at Trinity, I don't know, but kids when they're young, there's no filters. So when you're very young, from grade 1 to about grade 4 or 5, after that the kids start getting filters. But before that, everyone wants to ask what happened or what's wrong. But a lot of the kids, I would say 95% of the kids, once you tell them, they get over it and they're fine with it. There was a little bit of incidents of bullying, but those were sorted out very quickly. I was thankful to have an older brother in the same school. So if there was ever any problems, I could just call on my older brother and my close friends. So bullying for me, it happened, but it was never really, a lot to deal with back then. It was like isolated incidents. But in high school, you know, some people, they say, who needs enemies when you have friends like I do? If you don't have a thick skin, you're never going to, succeed in an all-boys school, and that was St. Stephen. So there were a lot of little banter and chirping comments, but it was all in good spirit. There was no real bullying in my high school with me.
Hmm. Well, that's good. So your Paralympic dream, where did it start for you? Because a lot of us would start the sport without probably even realizing, especially when you come in so young, like you did, without even realizing that there's something called Paralympics and that you are actually capable of getting there. So how long did it take you before you realized that I can actually go to Paralympics?
Yeah, so it all started with us, Netbank national championships once a year, but it wasn't the beginning. The beginning was this was something I'd do once a year. I would be doing rugby or anything like that, and then I would be doing nationals once a year. But then came when I was about, I don't know, 14, 15, and then I was watching the 2008 Paralympics in Beijing, and obviously Oscar was a huge name back then, and it was someone that I looked up to, and that lit the flame inside of me when I saw 80 to 90,000 people in a stadium watching us Paralympians compete. That really lit the flame in me. So from that 2008 Paralympics, the dream that dream was made, and the goal was always to get to 2012. Our paths, we've always been on the same path, but we started training together a little bit like after 2008. I think it was about 2011 we started training together. Then the reality started, to come to fruition.
No, absolutely. It does take a good 4 years at least, to get your mind around it with all the competitions in between. So how helpful were, let's say, the World Games that you went to, the World Championships where that you went to? How helpful were they in preparing you for the ultimate big stage of the Paralympics?
Yeah, so my first ever international competition, I was still in matric at St. Stephen's, and it was in New Zealand, 2011. I think it was one of your first ones as well. And we were together there. We were actually roommates. It was a good time. But then, in my class, it was special because we had a guy, Fani. We had Fani van der Merwe. He was the world record holder. He was the person to be, the person to look up to. So we, as T37s or any cerebral palsy, we could rub shoulders with the world's best. So, he also calmed us down a lot. But as an 18-year-old, you can only take in so much. But I think the experience, I went from there, from the World Champs to the IWAS Games later on in that year, in 2011, I think it was in Sharjah, Dubai, where was it? Yeah, one of those. And then those two international competitions really laid the foundation for my London experience. And I think the experience that I got from those two competitions was just so valuable for me.
So 2012 Paralympics and the 2016 Paralympics, for you, which one was the best? Where did you have your best experience?
100% London 2012. There was a little bit of, emotional things that happened before 2016. I wasn't in the team and I was in the team. But then again, also, as every athlete, I'm sure you know, we weren't sure if the games were even going to be held. There were financial problems building up to the games. Everyone wasn't sure what was happening. So it wasn't like 2012 when it was definitely happening and we could look forward to it. Obviously, we didn't know we were in the team. But 2012's experience with full stadiums, yes, Rio, there was, as the games went, the stadiums got more and more busy. But in the beginning, it wasn't as, you and I experienced in London, where every single session was sold out. So definitely London 2012. It's actually my favorite experience of my whole career was London 2012.
No, London it was. I still think they were the biggest Paralympic Games of our time. Your experience, Andrea, you've done World Championships, you've done Paralympics, you've done World Games. Uh, how good is the support from the provincial or national structures to actually help you get to that level? Because surely, it takes a lot of money, expertise from a lot of people. So all of those teams put together, how easy was it for you and for everything to come into place for you to be able to get there? Because there's the point of getting there and staying there. So that support structure for you from a national or provincial level, how was that for you?
I think now that I'm retired, I can actually really, speak my mind with regards to this. It was very difficult, and you and I both know this. Yes, there is a support structure in place with operational excellence, the OPEX program. But to get into that program and to get to the highest tier of that program, you basically have to be top 3 in the world, top 5 in the world, consistently. So if anything happens to you injury-wise, which I suffered a few in my career and stuff, there was always this anxiety that your contract could get taken away from you at any time. There was a stipulation in the contract that your contract was always up for renewal or review, the word review, every 6 months. So as an athlete, for me, there wasn't much job security, and ultimately it was something that pushed me to my retirement. I was just, I'm quite an analytical person, so doing the maths, it started not working out in my head that my long-term future might not be an athlete. I need to now buckle down and look for my long-term career. There's great incentives, but even if you work out the incentives, it doesn't make sense to me. You get the 400,000 Rand for the gold medal, but that's 400,000 Rand that you get every 4 years. So if you break that up per year, what is that, 100,000 a year? I can get an entry-level job and make more than 100,000 Rand a year. You know what I mean? So
yeah, and
there was a lot
that's very true.
Yeah, there was a lot of anxiety that came through with it. So I was thinking, do I really want to retire at 30 years old and have zero job experience, trying to apply for a job? So I made the decision, and it was the hardest decision. Don't get me wrong, my athletics career was the most amazing thing, but it was just time for me to move on.
So move on, you have, and again, I fully agree with you that if you won a gold medal at Paralympics, which is money that only comes once every 4 years, and I think the biggest condition to that money is the if you win.
Exactly.
There's no guarantee to it.
Yeah, you prepare for 4 years for that 400,000 Rand, but that everything needs to go your way for that. And obviously with the OPEX contract, they what's the word? They reimburse you, so you can
Yes,
go to the
yes,
grocery store and everything. But for me, that's just a plateau. You're not stepping up anywhere. You're just
yeah,
getting your money
yeah,
back, your own money back, basically from the government. So
yeah.
it was a tough one. I understand maybe there's not enough money or whatever, but for me, it just didn't financially make any more sense to me.
Mm.
And I know that might be taken on by some people, but it was a big anxiety in my life.
Yeah. So you've now moved on and you've retired. So how has that transition been for you? To leave um school and leave athletics that you obviously love with all of your heart and now be in the job market. How has that transition been like? And do you think that being a sports person helped you in any way to either secure the job or to manage in the job because of your experience as an athlete?
Yeah, so I can start off by saying, unfortunately, my sporting career didn't help me get the job, but it has helped me with some ways in dealing with the job. It was extremely difficult. The transition for me, I was borderline depressed, probably was depressed. You go from basically being this free person where I train in the morning, train in the afternoon, you're doing everything for yourself, you're bettering yourself, you're traveling overseas, you're seeing different countries, to, an 8 to 5 or 9 to 5 job, office job. I'm currently working for a great company, First National Bank. Um, so the transition for me was one of the hardest things I've ever had to deal with in my life, and I'm just thankful to my family and friends that were with me during that time, and obviously my girlfriend now. So I just want to say to all the athletes that are on the edge of retirement and thinking of doing it, you guys mustn't be quiet. You must try. I don't know where you can get your support from, but it is one of the harder things to do.
Looking back at your athletics career and where you are now, is there something you would do differently? Would you knowing this is where you would end up in hindsight, would you still choose athletics or would you have chosen a different career path?
I would never ever give up what we did and what I did. It molded me as a person who I am today. The experiences that I had at the London 2012, the Rio 2016, the 4 World Championships I did, and even the Commonwealth Games was one of my favorite things I've ever done. Those experiences can never be taken away from me, and I think it's actually, it can open doors for you in the future. You never know. I've met such amazing people. So no, I don't think I would change anything to do with the path of the career. Maybe certain things I would maybe have, like maybe put more dedication to the body to stop a lot of the injuries that always happen before big competitions, things like that. Or, and even if I could do it again, maybe I would try to get, even in my off seasons, just some job experience. So when I finished, I wasn't going into the corporate or the job world with just, coaching on my CV or anything like that, which doesn't really help when you're trying to get into corporate or something like that. So maybe I would have done some holiday clinics or things like that just to up the CV a bit. But all in all, the career was amazing. So not much I would, change about that.
Yeah, no, I think that's good advice as well to the younger athletes out there watching this. Now, my last question to you, the issue of sponsorships or endorsements, it almost doesn't exist in Paralympic sport. How, maybe in your mind, do you think we can improve that? Because you can really count in one hand the number of disabled athletes who have got endorsements out there. How do you think we can improve that? Because I believe that we've got so many great athletes who have got more accolades than Olympians, but they've got nothing. They're not even known. So how, if we had to come up with solutions, do you think we can help our athletes?
It's a very difficult thing, and something that even during our careers we were trying to get those endorsements, and some of us were successful. Like I had I didn't get money, but I had, like a Adidas kit sponsor endorsement, which was great. It felt great, but it didn't really do much for me financially either with regards to that. I think the one thing we need as Paralympians is someone in power that cares, a lot of people in power in governmental positions, they care for the Olympians much more than the Paralympians. So we need someone, even if it's a past athlete, one of us, to be in these positions where we can drive, the movement of Paralympics and to get us in the spotlight of the media, even just going to these games. And I used to have to write directly to News 24 to get them to write articles about us at Paralympics or World Champs. We need someone just to put that extra effort in, and maybe then the youth will benefit one day. It definitely won't be us or the athletes now. Some of them obviously are, but the majority of them now, it's going to be tough for them. But if we can have someone that can care in the position and go the extra mile, maybe the youth one day will benefit from that, and that's what I hope.
Yeah. Okay. I said that was going to be my last question, but this is now really, really my last question, I swear. What are your best achievements, buddy? I know you've been to World Champs, you've been to Paralympics, but for someone that doesn't know, if you had to count maybe top 3 of your best sporting achievements, what would they be?
It's very difficult, like achievements can be so different for different people. Some of my achievements were just, staying true to myself throughout my whole career, never really changing, just being who I am. But the medaling at the World Championships in an individual event as long jump, those will stand out in France and in Dubai. I medaled there. But also people forget that in London, my long jump was still combined with the T38s, and I actually came third in the T37 class that day. So if it was a year later, I would have medaled at a Paralympics if it still wasn't combined. So that was an amazing achievement for me. That was the first time internationally I ever went over 6 meters and got that African record. So I think, those medals that I won internationally, but also that achievement and how I competed at London 2012, breaking the record and placing third in the T37 class, even though it was combined and I ended fifth. It was an amazing thing for me as a 19-year-old.
No, you're not 19 years anymore. You are a much older man. But, buddy, thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much again for the valued input and your honest words. We do wish you all the best. Vanquish will hopefully always be here to follow the stories of the Paralympians, and hopefully we can also include Olympians, because really this is a show where we really speak about conquering all the odds and obstacles out there, and you've done so yourself, buddy. Well done on that, and thank you again for joining us.
Anytime, guys, and just keep on following your dreams, kids.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Andrea Dalle Ave. And again, thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Vanquish. My name is Andrea Dalle Ave. And yes, if you do, you can donate products that can help with Andrea's face. We can shave his head and shave his face and make sure that it looks very neat. It is okay, guys. You can donate for Andrea. But the man is an absolute legend. He has done so well for himself despite all the odds that he has faced. And this is why we say that odds and obstacles exist only to be conquered on Vanquish. See you at another episode.